So I have a really special episode for all of you today, and I'm so thrilled to bring you my new friend, Stephanie Rourke-Jackson. Stephanie and I actually met at an event. We ended up being guests seated beside each other. So it's really wild that we're here in this room together today. And what's even funner about this episode is the fact that we're both diagnosed with ADHD. She is an expert on it in a professional space, but also in a lived experience. I am only a lived experience in the way of I have learned how to manage my ADHD. So, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so excited to be here. We have dreamed of this moment for a while now, haven't we?
Oh, we sure have.
Getting
And
each other to make
this is
stuff
not my
work.
typical podcast, to be honest. This is not something I usually do. However, this podcast is all about real leadership, leading yourself first. And that means self improvement. That means developing yourself, growing yourself, understanding yourself so that you can bring your best to the world and lead your best life, right? So that's why it seems very appropriate that we're chatting. So, why don't you take them back to the moment we met? Because it was magical for me. How about you?
Yeah, it was so serendipitous, right? But with meaning. And obviously, we just talked about certain things happening in our life that were meant to be. And when you just when you rub up against it, it is like magic. Well, we were both at the Mel Robbins conference in Toronto back in May, I guess. And we both were there early, and we were just standing at a table overlooking the lobby area. And I just said, "Can I put my stuff down here?" And you looked at me when you were on your phone, busy doing something. You're just like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And we just sort of locked eyes for a moment, and then we just started chatting. And funnily enough, we ended up sitting right beside each other, like front row pretty much, and just started having a great conversation and connecting. I don't even know if I knew your name at that point, but you know, it looked just like we were old friends. But it was a great moment, and I'm glad we had that, and here we are now.
I always feel like things like that happen for a reason. It was crazy. I mean, we're upstairs just chatting, pre-show, that kind of thing. You end up in the same place as I do. I mean, there was thousands of people there, and somehow you and I end up standing in the same space. And then we go in and we have seats literally seated beside each other. I'm like, okay, if you ever look for signs from the universe, this is it. Here it is. And everyone, let me just tell you how generous this woman is right off the bat. Not only is she here to share all of her knowledge with us today, but she was like, "I'm going to get a drink. Do you want me to get you one?" And she got me a drink. This is like a brand new total stranger to me. And she's so generous, like to go and get me a drink when she went and got one. So this is who she is. She's also a professional with all of her other expertise, but she's a beautiful human being as well. So really happy to have you here.
Wow, thank you,
So,
Carlos. I feel
well,
so much better about myself now.
well, sometimes it's the little things, but the little
Thanks.
things don't go unnoticed. I noticed it. It's beautiful that you did that. It reminds me of being in the West Edmonton Mall. I'll never forget this, which is one of the biggest malls in Canada, right? And I was at the mat counter waiting for my turn to get this makeup tested on me. And I witnessed the woman that was doing the makeup. She was yawning. It was mid-afternoon, and she was trying to hide her yawn as she was applying makeup to the person in front of me. And I was like, "Do I have time to run for a coffee?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'll be, probably 15 minutes." And I said, "Hey, can I get you one?" And she's like, "You're from
Hmm.
Saskatchewan, aren't you?" And I said, "How did you know?" And she said, "Because only a Saskatchewan person would do that." I thought it was so sweet.
Albertans won't do that.
I guess not. Well, according to her anyway, but
Oh my
clearly
goodness.
Ontario, or yeah, people from Ontario are that kind of generous as well, because here you are.
I hope so. I
Anyway,
hope so.
so let's get on to our topic today, ADHD. Holy
Mhm.
smokes, what a big topic. So many people are either diagnosed or misdiagnosed with different things instead of ADHD. Help us understand it from your personal and professional experience.
Sure. Well, I have been living with understanding this neurotypical difference for probably 20, let me see, how old is my son? About 25 years now. So all three of my kids were diagnosed at different times in their life. My middle child, my eldest son, was diagnosed in grade one. His teacher noticed right away he had inattentive style. Wasn't slower, but just took longer to, get things done. And they're just some telltale signs. So That was a bit shocking to us, but at the same time, as parents, we didn't want to hold our kids back from anything. We wanted to be supportive. We wanted to come alongside. We wanted to be there for them and do everything that we could to ensure their success. So we did the psychological assessment with him. He scored high. And we just said, okay, now what? And so thankfully, in the area that we lived in Toronto, there were a lot of supports and resources through the school board. So they set him up with a CERT, which is a special education resource teacher. He had an IEP, which just means he has some accommodations that helped him succeed in school. He didn't have to be set apart or anything else. He was in the public school system. So that was great. We took him to the doctor. She did prescribe medication for him to help. Then our younger son was diagnosed, 9 years later, and we're like, okay, this is a pattern. So we started looking at ourselves as well and going to conferences and seminars. And it was during a conference put on through CADAC, where my husband just looked at me with tears streaming down his face and he said, they're describing me. They are describing me to a T as a student, as a kid growing up, feeling
Wow.
stupid, left behind, not getting things, not like forgetting all of the time, just feeling like everything was a mistake that I did. And he is super productive. He's musical, he's creative, he's intelligent. So this just broke my heart when I heard that. But then we started learning more about the genetic impact of ADHD. And then my daughter, who is bright and creative and social, she managed to get through school until grade 11, and then everything fell apart. And so for girls, that's very different for girls and for boys. We present differently. Girls have a harder time getting diagnosed because they don't look like there's any problem or behavioral impact. So her being social and being creative, and what we've learned was that a lot of it was masking. So she went undiagnosed, unfortunately, but then we had her privately assessed and went through that process and then got her the supports and the resources that she needed. So that was kind of my foray into understanding ADHD and being a strong advocate and a parent who wanted to support her kids, and then also look at it as not a diagnosis, but as a person who has all of these wonderful attributes, but also struggles with true symptoms that, if gone unchecked, unnoticed, undiagnosed, unsupported, are really detrimental. So that was my beginning part of it. And then for myself, Corliss, I think I just held life together because I am ambitious. Went through school. I've always had a million ideas. I'm very entrepreneurial. I succeeded. I got things done, but not without a struggle. I can recall going back to like my youth and my teenage years and seeing now all of those symptoms that my kids had struggled with, I could identify in myself. And just before, around my 50s, when, menopause and all of the other hormones were raging, I just couldn't keep it together anymore. Everything crashed. And I went to my doctor and I started naming off my symptoms. And she just looked at me because she knows the history of my kids. And she's like, I think you have ADHD too. And I'm like, oh no, I don't think so. It comes from my husband, And then I really did some research on it and I got honest. I admitted that this might be what I'm struggling with. And then once I had the diagnosis, once I had the professional diagnosis, and this is the thing, the diagnosis doesn't mean it's your identity, and it doesn't hold you back unless you make yourself a victim to it. But what it does is it relieves the pressure of trying to figure out what the hell is going on with me.
And what is wrong with me?
What is wrong with me? And
Yeah.
suddenly it's like, it's not what's wrong with you. There's a name to it. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it feels like. Here's how you function. And once you understand that, there's such relief, but also grief, right? Like, how is it that I put myself through all of this for 53 years? That's when I got diagnosed, that I coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Could have done something differently maybe when I was really at my worst in my 20s. And then in my 30s, trying to like manage
Right.
kids and all of the things. I probably could have had better support, but anyway, here we are. So what do I do with it now? That's my ADHD story.
Interesting. And it's like you're mirroring me. So my kids were actually diagnosed first. And it was actually in my 50s as well when I went to the doctor, same thing, like trying to understand what the heck is wrong with me. Like, why am I all over the place? But I used to joke for years and years and years. I would be doing meetings and they'd be like, squirrel, there goes, he's got to follow Corliss's brain.
Yeah.
I'd be
Shiny
squirreling all over the place. Yeah. And I'd get another thought and there I'd go on a tangent and then I'd come back to the original thought. And you know what? In so many ways, it was beneficial to me because achiever, creative, got shit done. It was awesome, really. And I knew I joke about my undiagnosed ADHD all the time. And then my kids got diagnosed and they were getting the supports with the school, even for taking a little longer, being in a quiet room,
Mhm.
to complete exams and things like that. It was really good. And it wasn't until I actually hit my 50s and I was like, I got to figure out what's going on with this menopause thing. Like, there's definitely
Mhm.
something going on with me. And I went in there and my doctor diagnosed my final child, my third child, with ADHD.
So
And then he
similar.
said, yeah. And then he says to me, it's hereditary usually. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, I know I'm undiagnosed. And he's like, maybe we should actually do a diagnosis. Do you want to? So of course he put me through the testing,
Mhm.
of course, confirmed what I already knew about myself, asked me if I wanted to go on medication, to do some things. And it's not that I'm opposed to it. My children make their own choice about that as well. But I was
Yes.
like, you know what? I actually like my brain. I like how it works. I like how creative I am.
Mhm.
I've lived 50 some years with this brain. I know how to focus it. I know how to like hone in on it. And I want to stay as it is. Like right now, that is actually where I'm at. But of course, I make no judgment about what people do. You should do whatever's right for you. But it really helped me understand this
Mhm.
is who I am. My
Yeah.
brain works a little bit different than the norm, but I actually think it's a blessing for me. I'm elevated in my, ambitions and in my creativity. And I like that about me. And I'm actually embracing it and feel pretty good about it.
And what you've done is a whole mindset um, decision, right? You made the choice to embrace it. And I think that that's the difference because some people will struggle in that victim mentality or villain mentality where, they beat themselves up about it or they blame everything else, the environment, the government, my parents, just life in general. And that does nothing to help you glow up,
Right.
have a great life, serve your best self. But if you can identify those shine qualities that you have because of the ADHD or the neurodivergent brain, then you can step into that and embrace it fully and stop getting frustrated about the things you can't do, but lean into the things that you're really good at and be able to have language around saying, hey, and you don't have to say, hey, I have ADHD, so I can't do that, or my ADHD won't
Right.
let me do that. You don't have to use that kind of language, but you can say, I'm stronger in this area. If you can let me have full reign and a little bit of freedom, I will produce great results for you. Or I prefer to be outside. I've got to move around a few times a day. I can't be doing the same old administrative, like I'm sure for you too, like spreadsheets and just like entering something in that's so, so monotonous will drive you crazy. And so finding ways to be able to alleviate some of those pressures, either you can delegate it, you can let it go, or you can hire somebody else to do it. But when you lean in and embrace the gifts that you have because of how your brain is wired, you flourish and thrive mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, because ADHD will affect you cognitively. It'll affect you behaviorally and emotionally. Absolutely, for sure. There's about 14 regular symptoms that we will struggle with. And these symptoms have to present before the age of 12, because sometimes people are like, well, I guess it's just my onslaught of ADHD. Well, you don't actually just gain it. It's not something that you can just develop later on in life. You can become more aware of it, and maybe some of the symptoms are magnified or heightened, but you are born with it. So,
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because I actually want to peel this back because there's going to be lots of people here who are
mhm.
not as educated about it. So help us understand the difference between do I dare use the language of like normal brain and ADHD brain? Like I don't know what. So you're saying our brains are wired different. So help us understand what that means.
Yeah, so in this realm, we say neurotypical, that would be the normal person,
Okay.
and neurodivergent. So there's a diversity. It
Okay.
operates on a different level. It's wired different, it's developed differently. So that way, I think using that kind of language too doesn't make you feel like normal and abnormal. It makes you feel like,
Right.
oh, there's typical ways and then there's atypical ways. Okay, fine.
Okay.
So let me just
I
describe.
think it's special actually.
Right,
I
right. But
choose to see it as I have a very special brain.
yeah, yeah. But some people, and especially kids, and I can attest to this with my older son, he did not want to be special. He did not want to be different. I just want to be normal like everybody else, because you want to fit in. Kids want to fit in.
Yeah.
They don't want to be told or seen as being different. They're like, no, just like let me just look like everybody else. So I'll give you the definition that the DSM-5, that's the diagnostic manual for symptoms, and this is what psychiatrists will say. So it's a persistent neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by consistent pattern of inattention or lack of focus and or hyperactivity, impulsivity that negatively impacts functioning or development. So even though there is kind of a negative connotation there, when we know that that's what it's doing, we don't have to worry about, is it me? Am I doing something that, I could do better? It's my brain is doing something and I have to learn how it operates. So it's the system, right? Like your brain is, let's just talk about it in simple terms. So the back part of your brain develops first. This is your emotional brain, right? As kids, we need to have that emotion because it's the only thing that we know. We cry because we're hungry, we're hurt, or we're tired. We get angry because we can't use our words. So emotions develop first and they develop big. The front part of your brain, which is where the executive functioning happens, this is the frontal cortex. That's where all the planning, the administration, the focus, anything that has to do with being able to manage the mental skills of your system. So if you're processing, memory, decision making, that all happens here. And it does develop later on. However, with people with ADHD, it kind of stunts. And there's like a little flap. This is what one of the experts described years ago, and it made so much sense to me. It's like there's a flap in the middle, and it's like a door that opens, right? So the emotions come up, but your executive function brain goes, not appropriate right now. Let's just keep that emotion to the back. We'll deal with it later because we're in the middle of a conference, or I'm in the middle of a conversation, or it's not the right time to get all agitated, frustrated, upset, impatient. I got to hold that back. With ADHD, it's like a saloon door. Those things are just blowing in the wind. So you get like an emotion, you get impulsive, you get impatient, you've got to be able to say something right away, you blurt things out, you get very anxious, you're tapping, you're moving around. Like these are some of the outward symptoms of what's happening with the brain because we don't know how to manage it. And then the executive function, that's kind of like your executive, like, let's slow down here, we got to plan through this, let's think through it, what would happen at the end, what are the different contingencies, what are some consequences if I choose this. It's not wired for that. It's just like, let's go. So it can be very exciting and you can get a lot of ideas and be very creative and think outside the box. And you're also emotional. You can notice things. You have more empathy and compassion for other people. These are all the wonderful things. But that impulsivity can get us into a lot of trouble and frustrate our friends, our family, our coworkers, our boss. And that's where we
or actually cause our businesses, because then we have these ideas and we just run with them, we don't fully think them through. So but what I'm actually hearing here, so it's really awesome to like understand that in like a layman's term kind of language. But what I also really appreciate this is once you say have a diagnosis, no matter what treatment plan you decide to go with, you can actually embrace this is who I am and I understand more about myself. And now how do I maximize the beautifulness of how I'm wired to
yes,
my benefit, because
exactly.
even for myself now, like I can honestly say, knowing that I am actually ADHD and I get these ideas and they flood in,
Hmm.
sometimes what I'll do is just be like, oh, there they are. I love that. Oh, there's that creative. It's coming in again. Yay. Thank you for the messages from universe, God, whatever you want to call it. It's like it's here. And then it's like, okay, now just pause for a minute and have a look at what's this going to actually look like.
Yeah.
Does this really align with where you're going? What really matters to you right now? And I can actually because I understand myself, I can actually stop and actually use it to my benefit versus just flighty going all over the place like I used to do.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you said that because that's a strategy. That's a tool in your toolbox. And this is what we do when I'm coaching my clients with ADHD. We are building a toolbox or scaffolding that helps to hold us up, that's specific to the needs of our brain. And you said pause. That's a hard thing to do naturally.
Yeah.
Somebody with ADHD with a neurodivergent brain, that is a hard thing to do. But when you learn that it is actually a strategy and a tool that's going to help you get to what you want, then you can bring that tool out and actually use it. So, chunking your work, pausing, breathing, moving around, doing things for like 15 to 20 minutes instead of saying, oh my gosh, I've got this project and it's going to take me 2 hours. That's overwhelming and it emotionally dysregulates an ADHD brain right from the get-go. So what do we do? It doesn't inspire us, it overwhelms us, and then we sit back and procrastinate. So procrastination is a huge symptom of people who have ADHD. And procrastination is not a sign that you are lazy or you don't care or you're good for nothing. Like there's a lot of input that's happened with people who have ADHD, that's been said about us. Like you're lazy, you're scatterbrained, you're flighty, you're flaky, you're a bitch. Like all of these things, if you can think back to like your youth and think, oh my goodness, I did hear those things like, oh, there she is again, spacey, spacey Stephanie just daydreaming, but there's so much going on in the brain that you need to be able to pull yourself away to be able to kind of do that pause. So recognizing exactly what you said, Corliss, like I have a diagnosis. Okay, these are typical symptoms that are going to impact me on a regular basis, professionally and personally. So in my family relationships, with my friends, and with my colleagues, and with my boss, or with my clients if I'm an entrepreneur. And so recognizing that, the poor time management skills, time blindness is a real thing. So if I don't put some tactics in place that are going to help me get to places on time and buffer my time, like you can't go from like having 15 things like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna do this. It's not going to work. But it's because we have such big expectations and we need that burst of dopamine, right? Our brains are lacking literally in dopamine. So what we need to do is to help ourselves develop
Wait, our
sparks.
ADHD brains? So our ADHD brains are lacking dopamine more than like the
Yes, the
regular
typical
brain?
brain. Yes,
Typical brain. Really? Okay.
yes. This is why we need those sparks. This is why we get bored with things easily. This is why the squirrel or the shiny
Right.
thing
Okay.
really catches our attention because we're attention deficit, which doesn't mean that we can't be focused on something. In fact, we can be hyper focused on things that we really are interested in, really enjoy, because it's pulsing the dopamine. So when we have the spark of dopamine, we want to stay in that because there's a reward, there's pleasure, there's energy, there's motivation. And because we lack it naturally, that's what holds us back from a lot of things. That's what keeps us procrastinating. So sometimes medication can help. It will spark up the adrenaline and it normalizes our brain. So it's not doping us up. It's actually helping us to get to sort of a normal level where, people who don't have ADHD have enough dopamine to get them moving in the morning, to keep them going, to keep them focused, to keep them planning. And so when you have a lack of something, you need to be able to supplement it.
This is so interesting because it's almost like harnessing the power of what makes you you and harnessing the power of your brain and what's unique to you and understanding, how it works and how your brain works. And even the fact that you said this about the dopamine hit, honestly, that's new to me because I thought that a lot of what's going on in the dopamine hits that people need right now with being on technology and social media and scrolling and things like that was mostly to do with social and just habit, when really it actually might be connected to the fact that many of us are actually high functioning ADHDs.
Exactly. Such a great term. Now, I'm not going to say that we're not getting more and more addicted as a society
Yeah.
to dopamine, because that is actually happening.
Yeah.
But naturally occurring as a brain deficiency, people with ADHD will notice that. So that's why, and to gain dopamine, to feel good, to feel alive, like electric and
Mhm.
vibrant, we need to have dopamine. I mean, these chemicals help us, right? Serotonin helps us to feel happy. Oxytocin helps us to feel connected, love, trustworthy, and in a state of belonging. Dopamine helps us to like get that that alertness, like that high energy going, and it's something that we crave. And so if we don't get it in healthy ways, we will go after it in very unhealthy ways. Substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, shopping, inappropriate relationships, cheating, affairs, gambling, and then worse, things that put us into jail. 37% of people with ADHD are more distracted and have higher levels of car crashes, because we're always looking around and we have to be doing a million different things at the same time. We are multitaskers, but we don't focus on one thing and get it done. I don't know about you, Corliss, but I can have like 15 things going, all these tabs open, things that I'd like to know about this, and I should finish that over there. I've got that load of laundry. Like, how many stinky wash, stinky clothes do you have in your wash? How many dishes have you burned? How many times have you left the water running and forgotten about it? The fridge open, your keys in the fridge, like
Okay, so
just
you've told
weird
us about
stuff.
you're describing what most people are definitely experiencing. So those are the unhealthy things. What are the healthy ways?
Yeah. So because we have this need for more, we are fun. We can be very silly. We won't take ourselves too seriously. Internally, we might beat ourselves up, but outside, we're like, kind of go with the flow type of people. We've got lots of ideas. We can connect with people on a much quicker, higher level. That's the reason probably why you and I just like stood at a table, looked at each other and went, oh, there's a connection, because we are more in tune, more attuned to the emotional impact of being in relationship with people. We see nature, we notice things. It's the creativity is there. Most people with ADHD are artists, athletes, frontline, first responders, because you get that hit of dopamine. A lot of police
Can I
officers
say something?
on
This
fire.
is
What?
crazy because my partner is a first responder. And as you're describing, I'm like, I'm sure that he's got these dopamine hits that he gets. Like, I'm the squirrel, creative, notice everything, all these things, and he's much more grounded, but he gets his hit a different way. Like
Hmm.
in his work, we're so unique as human beings, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it's
And I
learning
want
to
to,
really
I would
embrace and understand yourself and love who you are.
Exactly. And that's leadership. That's self leadership, right? Self awareness will be the first ingredient to self leadership. And that's fundamentally what we all want to get to, is this realizing our potential so that we can feel really good in our body and in our skin, in the contribution that we make. What did I want to say? Oh, see, there we go. It's gone. It might come back. It might not. Who cares?
You know what? I can honestly tell you that my listeners are going to be like totally good with that because they're used to listening to me. And that happens quite often for me. Okay, just a couple more things I want you to cover.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the funny things that can happen because like we got to learn to laugh at ourselves a little bit too.
Mhm.
Like so damn serious. Everything's so serious and it's like, "Oh, that's why I am how I am." But
Yeah.
like there's some funny things that have happened because of my the way I am. And my family loves it. My kids, okay, so true story. My
Yes.
kids were like calling me Dory for a long time. They had a name,
Yes.
but I didn't know what it was. They were, and I was like, quit calling me Dory. And so they were doing that all the time.
Mhm.
Anyway, then the movie was released, and we all went to this family movie, and Dory came out.
Mhm.
And I was like, and they all looked at me and we all started laughing. And I was like, is that what you guys have been doing? And they're like, yeah, mom, that's you. Like, that's you. You're like, oh, wait, what? Huh?
Forgetfulness, the forgetfulness, right? Which is exactly why, as women, too, like we have a lot of hormones. We're like, is that brain fog based on, the change of life, or is that my ADHD brain? And sometimes
Right.
it can get very intermixed, but you're right. Like, of course, we have the frustrations of adulting with ADHD, but we also have the fun of adulting with ADHD. And there are those, I mean, how many journals do you have? How many planners? This is going to be the one that makes my life complete. I'm going to be so much more efficient. I'm going to be so much more. How many like graveyards of planners and all of the apps and screenshotting everything so I don't forget, I don't forget. I'm like, I don't even know where are
Oh
all
my
those
God, you're like normalizing me. This
thousands
is
of
so
them.
lovely. It's so lovely to be normalized. Thank you. If you ever saw the amount of notebooks that I have from all, do you know, I have been going to personal growth conferences for like 30 years.
Yeah.
I have more notes than anyone I know. I could fill a library, and these notebooks have so many notes in it because I capture absolutely everything. Like
Because
I
you don't want to
need to.
forget.
Right. So I don't forget. And then I
So
can't find
exciting
it.
in the moment.
Yeah, and then I get so frustrated because I can't find where did I write that damn thing? It's somewhere in here. There's gold in here, but where is it? Where is it? I can't find it. And then I get frustrated with myself that I can't find it. My kids used to always say, "Mom, you're so random. You're so random." Because it's like there's
Yes,
like
I am.
yes, yes, I am. I am very random. Everybody who knows me knows I'm quite random,
Oh
but
my
it's
goodness.
because of how my beautiful brain is wired, and it's okay. It's all right. I actually fully embrace it. You know what else is funny about this is that you and I met at an event that was being hosted by somebody who is, it's actually her event, somebody who is ADHD diagnosed.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
Mel Robbins. Who
mhm.
else is famous that has been diagnosed with as ADHD?
Walt Disney.
Come on. Like my idol.
What the experts say, and I don't know if he was actually, professionally diagnosed, but so they say. Justin Timberlake, Emma Watson. I would say the majority of actors, athletes, like star athletes, celebrities, because when you have a spotlight on you too, it gives you that adrenaline, it gives you the boost, and you feel alive. So we're constantly seeking that. I'm not saying that everybody with ADHD likes to be in the spotlight, because there are plenty of people, but they want to have the acknowledgement that they're doing well, because internally we do beat ourselves up a lot about not feeling like we're running with the pack, or we're where we should be because we've been passed over. And here's another thing too, just to maybe help your listeners. If you are struggling with jobs, you keep bouncing from job to job, career to career, trying to figure out what it is that you want to do. You get passed over for promotions. You find it difficult to connect with your colleagues. I would say, check that out to see if you do have ADHD, because that can be a symptom, and that's a hindrance. You want to be able to acknowledge what you have and then ask for support. So in the workplace, you can just say, I work better when you check in with me weekly. Like, we don't like this micromanagement, but we do need structure.
Right.
Structure really, really helps us. Deadlines help us. Having accountability really helps us a lot. Working with a coach, having a doctor who gets you, who can prescribe either medication, or working with a naturopath that can give you supplements that help. Having friends and a community of people who also go, oh my gosh, me too? Oh yeah, phew, I'm
Right.
not alone. These are all really good supports that help us to move along our path and to be successful in the dreams and desires and goals that we have. And make sure that your goals are not fantasy goals, because remember, that gives us a big spark of dopamine. I mean, every January you put together your vision board and you've got all of these beautiful pictures on it, like, yes, that's going to happen for me. This is going to be my year. And unless you have an actual plan and support and structure to help you get there, it'll just be a shiny thing on a board that will frustrate you, because the end of the year is going to come around and that's not going to get
And then
done.
you'll end up feeling worse about yourself, and then the whole
Yes,
cycle begins again. So
yes.
funny that you're saying this, because Dream Plan Do is actually the framework of my entrepreneurial talk and the course that I'm actually
Mm,
in the midst of developing, because I love harnessing my creative dream brain. I love vision. I teach vision. I help people create their vision. If any and all things are possible, what's possible for you, and to like go to that part of yourself that allows you to dream and to envision. However, we then need to plan, and then need to put some steps into action, right?
mhm,
So that's kind of how I've learned to kind of harness it myself, is like, and I teach
mhm.
other people like through that format in my keynotes and in my courses. So
Oh,
interesting that
good.
you're talking about that. I did want to come back to something that you said earlier, though, because I'm fascinated by this, that you said that many people who have ADHD are harder on themselves than normal. Explain that a little bit more, because that might help somebody here who's going, maybe that's why I'm this way to
Yeah.
myself.
Well, we have higher levels of emotion, like highly charged emotions, and reg
ADHD people do.
yeah,
Okay.
regulating those prickly emotions is really difficult. And there's an actual symptom called RSD, which is rejection sensitive dysphoria, meaning that when we are rejected, or when we perceive that we're being rejected, we take that on with a huge amount of shame, and it dysregulates us. So managing our emotions is going to be really critical. And the internal voice, that internal voice of the inner critic, is really loud. She's such a bitch. But harnessing that and understanding where it came from, and then realizing that the thing that we make it out to be is so much larger than what's actually happened. So if I make a mistake, I can be focused on that mistake for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I make it and exaggerate it even bigger than it actually was. And if I finally go to somebody and say, you know what, I feel so horrible about that mistake that I made. Maybe it was my boss, or, my husband. Like, what mistake? I didn't notice anything. And meanwhile, I've been exasperating my energy, focused on, what a shitty job I did. And I can't believe that I did that. How can I be so stupid? And then that holds me back, right? Because my emotions are dysregulated. I can't focus properly. I can't do the things that I want to do. I don't show up for people in healthy ways either. So that's a real symptom, and it's just something that we need to be aware of, that we have a tendency to magnify these mistakes, or
The stories we tell ourselves.
critical things about ourselves that are probably not even true, or at least way smaller than we make them out to be.
I want to offer something here that I think will really help, because I have learned this through my own growth and development, understanding myself, recognizing that sometimes the stories we tell ourselves are not even true, but they become our truth because we tell them to ourselves, right? And it was just a few weeks ago. Actually, I'm a part of a committee. They had invited me to be a part of this because I have a particular skill set with this thing that they're trying to do. And what I'm realizing is that the committee doesn't have the same. I definitely know why they invited me. I definitely have a different skill set in this area, right? But it's actually been a little bit frustrating for me. And I responded to a message, and I wasn't pleased with how I responded to it. And after I sent it, I was like, dang,
Mm.
I should have paused. I should have paused. I didn't, I don't like how I just didn't like how I responded to that. So I wish I had a pause. Course couldn't take it back. And then I didn't hear back from that person at all. No response. And I went to bed with that. And I was like sick about it because I was like, oh, she really could have taken that. Yes, I shouldn't have said anything, but dang, I did. She didn't respond. It became bigger and bigger and bigger in my head. The next morning, I didn't have a good sleep. The next morning, I woke up. Oh my gosh, there it is again. I feel so bad. I wish I wouldn't have done that. And then I had made it way bigger. I reread the
Yeah.
message and, it was like consuming me. And then all of a sudden I caught myself. I went, Corliss, you're making this bigger than it needs to be. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
she didn't even read your message. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
she's actually thinking about it. Maybe you actually needed to say that and she needed it to be said that bluntly so that she could process it. Maybe this isn't even about you. And I literally was like, there it is again. And I just caught myself with it and
Mm-hmm.
realized I'm making this a lot bigger. This is an old pattern. I am making
Mm-hmm.
this, something else. And I just need to just pause now. I didn't pause then. I need to pause now and stop making this even bigger than it is.
Yep.
And if this person is mature enough to have a conversation with me about it, we'll have that conversation. But you shouldn't make it bigger now. You should sit with it, understand it, recognize you did it, own it. Like I will apologize if I said it in a way that insulted her or something. I'll own that and I'll take responsibility for that. But I have to wait for that opportunity. And there's no point in me sitting here in this over and over again, regurgitating it and giving it all this energy because what we focus on expands. I'm making it bigger than it
Exactly.
needs to. So the idea here in offering this to you is for you to really understand that if you're doing that, just recognize it's okay. Don't be beat up on yourself to say, hey, there it is again. And I'm going to grow from it. I'm going to learn from it. It's part of what makes me me. And I'm going to accept it, love myself anyway, and work on doing better next time.
Yeah, and that's emotional maturity, right? When you can assess your emotions and then you can take a step back and you're actually doing that 40,000 foot perspective of just saying, hey, 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 that might be true, but what else could be true? What else could be true? What
Lovely.
could be a different story?
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're looking through a window of a house from the outside and all you ever see is one corner and it's got a table and a chair and a hutch, that's all you've ever seen, that you think, wow, what a poor little house this is. It just has those three things. But if you take a look around from another window and another perspective, oh my goodness, there's a full-on kitchen. There's a large TV. Look at that cozy little nook. I never noticed that before because we're so stuck, like you said, in looking at it through just one lens, one window, one filter, and we just ruminate on that. Instead, we can take the opportunity to be a little bit more creative. Let me just take a walk around this. Let me look at it through a different, what would my mother think? What would my spouse think? What would my best friend think about this? And actually try to put yourself into their perspective because it gives you another narrative. And what I'm hearing you say too, and this is something that I always teaching my clients too in my coaching, especially in the advanced course that I teach, which is ADD Advance for people with ADHD, is to have those aha moments, which is what you had, right? AHA is like ding, 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 the light bulb goes off. But it's an acronym for awareness with honesty moves to action. So honest or like awareness, I notice it. Wait a sec, let me pause. I'm noticing something here. Let me get really honest about it. Is this something that I need to pay attention to? Am I being authentic about it? Could there be a different approach? And then what's the action that I want to take? Do I want to stay here? Because I could stay here and be miserable. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
Or do I want to do something different? Do I want to take some massive action? Do I want to ignite courage in myself and do something differently? Whether it's talking to somebody else or making an apology or writing it out or just waiting. People with ADHD don't like to wait. It's like the impulsivity and
No, really?
there, the
Really?
interruptions, everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Incredible. I could, oh,
Story. That's a good
we
story,
could just,
girl.
we could, there's so much to talk about here.
Hmm.
But of course, we might have to just do a second episode. So, uh,
I'm willing.
okay, yeah, and it might take us a little bit, but not as long this time to get this nailed down. So,
Hmm.
first of all, if people want to reach you, like where do they connect to learn more from you?
Yeah, I would love to. Well, my coaching practice is called Beacon Coaching and Leadership. And I work with individuals and teams and organizations. And I do have the advanced course, which I do individually, and I also do it online with small groups. You can hang out with me on Instagram. That's kind of my social media jam. And I am at Beacon Coaching. Wait,
It's okay. I'll put the links in the notes anyway. So it'll be easy for you
Beacon
to find
Coaching. Yeah.
everyone. Yeah, I'll make sure and put it into the notes, the show notes
Thank
for
you.
where to connect with you, of course. Now, because this is considered a real leadership podcast, real leadership, of course, is self-awareness and self-discovery and self-leadership. I want you to share with us what you believe the word leadership means. Like, what's the real definition?
Yeah. I think leadership really means taking a deep dive into understanding who you are, your personal identity. What are your shine qualities? What are the things that, stress you out? How does your shadow side appear? Where does that happen? And then what are the things that you're going to do about it? It's okay to mess up, to make mistakes, to not be the person that you feel that you want to be or who you're becoming. But leadership is really about taking a step back and evaluating all of that, and being aware of who you are, and then embracing, like you said so many times, Corliss, embracing the person who you were wired to be, the who your creator decided you needed to be here at this time, in this place, for doing the things that you do. And that really is leading yourself so that you can help lead others well.
Amazing. So everyone, just you must know, I know we're perfectly aligned, but they know my brand of Lead Conference Canada, of self leadership. I did not coach her to say that. We are just aligned. It's just what we believe.
You did not.
It is so perfectly, it is so
Oh,
perfectly messaged and in perfect alignment to share today. So good. Now, a book or a podcast that, whether on this topic or one that was just a game changer for you, that
mhm.
everyone needs to get their hands on and to learn from, what would you recommend?
Well, I love leadership and self-discovery and self-awareness, but I would have to say the most recent book that I read that impacted me a lot was Dr. Gabor Mate, and
Mm,
it is The Myth of Normal. It's a chonker. If you
mm.
have ADHD, you might want to do this in a book club because it keeps you accountable. But it was so just mind-blowing and mind-opening.
Mm. You've just helped me really understand why I have so many books that are half read.
It's okay. It's okay.
Of course, it totally matters. And as a matter of fact, Robin Sharma, in one of his books, he said, it's actually my favorite book of all time. I've been reading it for 30 years, not even kidding. If I showed it to you, it's got coffee stains, it's like
Mhm.
ripped up, it's a mess, but it is 2 pages. That's it. So every chapter is only 2 pages, and I can read that. I can
Oh,
read
yeah.
that every morning. It's an inspiration, and I got through that book several times because the heavier books, the bigger books, the more information, I have a hard time getting through them. And I mean,
Yeah.
reading a whole page at once is so much for me. But
Yes.
in his book, he actually said, in this book, he said, um, half read as many books as you want to, basically. And I was like, oh, he just gave me permission. It's totally fine. I don't have to finish them all. I can, and I don't have to be hard on myself that I didn't get through them. It's okay.
Yep. There's
Just,
15. I always have like 15 on the go, and I need another one, and I need another one. But yeah,
gosh, you sure we're not related?
we are now.
Okay.
We are.
Yeah. Okay. The final closing question. And my mom's name is Stephanie. So, I just connect her
Oh,
even
oh,
more so hearts and they're connected.
some of our best neighbors that lived across the street when I was growing up, their last name is Corliss.
No,
Yes.
come on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's going on right
And
now?
the son's name is Grant Corliss, and he was the best friend of my brother. And I bought two of his artwork paintings recently. Yeah,
Holy smokes.
I
Okay.
know. Ding ding ding.
Okay. Ding, 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 ding. We have to get together at another conference. Maybe you'll come to mine next year. 2026 is happening. So,
That would be great.
oh yeah, it'll be
Yes.
so incredible. Everyone needs to be there. It's going to be so amazing. Okay, the final closing question. Based on all of the highs, all of the lows, everything that you've been through in your life, which we know is a lot. If you could leave people with just one piece of advice, what would it be?
I know it sounds so cliche, but never give up. Just never
Mm,
give up. And it's not what happens to you, because we all know that we're going to, shitty things will happen. It's not, it's not if, it's when they do. Figure out a way to get through it. Like, lean into it. Don't disregard it. Don't push it down. Find your support in your tribe and your community, but keep going. Just keep going, because life is so brutal, right? Like, there's so many parts of it that are just amazing, and it's meant to be lived. So live it.
absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. See you soon.